The emergency session of the Galactic Council began exactly 4 hours after Captain Vexthor sent his message. Council chambers that usually hosted routine trade discussions now filled with representatives from 47 member species, each one demanding to know what was happening at Earth. Chancellor Thrain called the session to order with a heavy heart. She had been leading the council for 30 years, and in all that time, she had never seen such confusion over a simple pre-contact survey. "We have received Captain Vexthor's preliminary report on the planet designated Earth," Thrain announced. "The findings are highly irregular. I am now releasing the full survey data to all council members." The data files opened across thousands of screens throughout the chamber. What the council members saw made them go silent. Then, the chamber erupted in noise. "This cannot be accurate," shouted Ambassador Krelix of the Mantoran Empire. "No Class 7 world should have this level of technology." "The data has been verified 3 times, Thrain replied. "Earth is far more advanced than our projections indicated." Another ambassador stood up, her tentacles waving in agitation. "Then we must revise our classification. Clearly, they are a Class 5 world, perhaps even Class 4. "That's not the issue," said Ambassador Torvin, one of the oldest members of the council. His species had been exploring space for over 10,000 years. "The issue is the rate of advancement. Look at the timeline. They went from primitive flight to landing on their moon in 66 years. That's impossible." "It's also accurate," Thrain said quietly. "But there's something else, something more concerning. Our xenobiology team has analyzed Earth's environmental data." She brought up new information on the screens. The council chamber went silent again as they reviewed the findings. Then the silence broke into chaos. Earth was a death world. The term had specific meaning in galactic classification. A death world was a planet so hostile to life that most council species would die within hours of exposure. High gravity, dangerous atmosphere, extreme weather, deadly predators, and diseases that evolved in constant warfare with each other. The galaxy had encountered death worlds before. They were usually avoided. The few times species from such worlds had been contacted, they had proven difficult to integrate into galactic society. Too aggressive, too violent, too competitive. "The dominant species are called humans," Thrain continued. "And they are adapted to survive in conditions that would kill most of us. Gravity nearly twice our standard, an atmosphere containing 21% oxygen." 21%? Ambassador Krelix looked horrified. "That's a fire hazard. How do they not burn constantly?" "They do burn things," Thrain said. "Constantly. They call it cooking, heating, and industry. They have learned to control combustion so well that they use it for nearly everything." Dr. Katie Sullivan stood in the United Nations building in New York, preparing for the most important presentation of her life. In front of her sat representatives from every nation on Earth. Behind her, on massive screens, waited the transmission equipment that would send her words to the alien ships still hovering at the edge of the solar system. "Are you ready?" asked President Greg Martinez. Katie took a deep breath. "As ready as I'll ever be. Remember, we're not asking for permission. We're introducing ourselves." Katie nodded. She understood the strategy. Earth's governments had debated for weeks about how to handle first contact. Some wanted to hide, to pretend they didn't know the aliens were there. Others wanted to be aggressive, to show strength. In the end, they had chosen a middle path. They would be honest, direct, and firm. The transmission began. "Greetings to the vessels at the edge of our solar system," Katie said, her voice calm and clear. "We are aware of your presence. We know you are here to study us. We want you to know that we welcome peaceful contact with the Galactic Council." Captain Vexthor nearly fell out of his command chair when the transmission came through. They knew. The humans knew the aliens were there. But how? The Constellation of Peace had the best stealth technology in the fleet. They should have been invisible to any Class 7 civilization. "Captain, the transmission is coming from the planet's surface," Krell reported. "It's being broadcast on multiple frequencies, including some we use for Council communications." "They know our frequencies?" Vexthor felt cold. "How is that possible?" On the screen, the human female continued speaking. "My name is Dr. Katie Sullivan. I am a scientist specializing in xenobiology, which is the study of alien life. Yes, we have been preparing for this moment. We have known about the Galactic Council for approximately 6 months." Vexthor's mind raced. 6 months? They had known for 6 months? That meant they had intercepted Council communications. They had been studying the galaxy in secret, and they had used that time to prepare. "We understand that our planet is classified as what you call a death world," Katie continued. "We want to address this directly. Yes, Earth is a dangerous place. Our gravity is high, our atmosphere is reactive, we have predators, diseases, and natural disasters. But this is our home. We evolved here. We are adapted to it." Back on Earth, Katie paused and looked directly at the camera. This next part was crucial. "We know that the Galactic Council has rules about contacting civilizations like ours. We know that you decide when we are ready. But we want to make something clear. We did not choose to live on a death world. We did not choose to evolve in harsh conditions. But we survived. We adapted. We thrived. And we will not apologize for being strong." In the council chambers, the ambassadors watched Katie's transmission with growing unease. This was not how pre-contact species were supposed to behave. They were supposed to be grateful, amazed, overwhelmed. Instead, this human was confident, prepared, and defiant. "She's challenging us," Ambassador Torvin said quietly. "She's telling us they won't be controlled." "Impossible," Krelix snapped. "They have no faster-than-light travel. They are confined to one star system. They must accept our terms." "Must they?" Thrain asked. "Tell me, Ambassador, how do you plan to enforce those terms? Will you invade? Will you blockade their system? Will you deny them the right to explore their own space?" The question hung in the air, because the truth was, the Galactic Council had never faced this situation before. Every pre-contact species had been found before they knew about the galaxy. They had been introduced gently, carefully, according to protocols designed over thousands of years. But Earth had found the galaxy first, and that changed all the rules. Katie continued her presentation, and with each sentence, she revealed more of what humanity had learned. They knew about the Council's structure. They knew about the different species and their territories. They knew about the trade networks and the laws. And most disturbing of all, they had opinions about those laws. "We believe that any intelligent species has the right to self-determination," Katie said. "We don't expect to join the Galactic Council immediately. But we expect to be treated with respect. We expect to have a voice in decisions that affect our world. And we expect the Council to recognize that just because we develop differently doesn't make us less worthy of consideration." General Jake Morrison watched Katie's presentation from the command center in Colorado. Beside him, his staff monitored the alien ships for any sign of hostile response. So far, the ships had done nothing. They were just watching, just as Earth was watching them. "She's doing well," said Colonel Rachel Parker, Jake's second in command. "She's doing better than well," Jake replied. "She's putting them on the defensive, making them question their own assumptions." "Do you think it will work?" Jake shrugged. "We're about to find out, because the next part is going to make them very uncomfortable." On screen, Katie moved to the final section of her presentation. "We want to show you something," she said. "We want to show you what Earth has accomplished. Not to boast, but to help you understand who we are." The transmission shifted to show images of human history. The first flights, the first computers, the moon landing, the space stations, the Mars rovers, and then the images that would shock the galaxy. Images of Earth's secret military space program, the fusion reactors, the railguns, the particle beam weapons, the stealth satellites, all of it revealed in one moment, showing the Galactic Council that Earth was not defenseless. "We have been preparing for 6 months," Katie said. "Not because we want war, but because we refuse to be victims. We are offering friendship to the Galactic Council. We are offering cooperation and exchange of knowledge. But we are not offering submission." Captain Vexthor stared at the images of human weapons with genuine fear. These were not primitive devices. Some of them were based on technology the Council used, but others were completely new, designed in ways he had never seen before. "They've been reverse engineering our technology," Krell whispered. "They intercepted our communications, studied our science, and built weapons in 6 months. Captain, these beings are dangerous." But Vexthor was thinking something else. He was thinking that dangerous was not the same as evil. He was thinking that maybe the humans had a point. Maybe being strong was not the same as being wrong. "Send a response," Vexthor ordered. "Tell them we have received their message. Tell them we are forwarding it to the Galactic Council, and tell them we mean them no harm." It was a small gesture, but it was something. A recognition that Earth deserved to be heard. And across the galaxy, billions of beings watched the human transmission and wondered what it meant for the future of their civilization. 3 days passed after Katie Sullivan's broadcast to the galaxy. 3 days of silence from the alien ships. 3 days of waiting and preparing for whatever came next. President Greg Martinez stood in the Situation Room beneath the White House, surrounded by advisors and military leaders. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. "They're going to respond today," said Secretary of State Amy Collins. "Our analysis of their communication patterns suggests they've been waiting for instructions from the Galactic Council headquarters. And when they do respond," Jake Morrison added, "we need to be ready for anything. The Council could offer peace, or they could try to assert control." Greg nodded. He had barely slept in 3 days. The weight of representing all of humanity in this moment was crushing. Every decision he made could shape the future of the human race for thousands of years. The communication came at exactly 1400 hours. Captain Vexthor's face appeared on screens across Earth, translated in real time by the computers humanity had built specifically for this purpose. "President Martinez," Vexthor began, his voice formal and careful. "I am Captain Vexthor, representing the Galactic Council. We have reviewed your transmission and consulted with Council leadership. We wish to open formal dialogue with your species." So far, so good. Greg kept his expression neutral. "We welcome dialogue, Captain. What does the Galactic Council propose?" "The Council offers Earth protectorate status," Vexthor said. "This is a generous offer, extended only to civilizations showing exceptional promise. Under protectorate status, Earth would receive technological assistance, medical knowledge, and guidance in developing faster-than-light travel. In exchange, Earth would accept Council oversight during a 500-year integration period." The room went silent. 500 years. The words were carefully chosen, but their meaning was clear. The Council wanted control. Greg looked at Amy, who gave a slight shake of her head. They had discussed this possibility. They had prepared for it. "Captain Vexthor," Greg said carefully, "we appreciate the Council's offer. However, Earth is not seeking protectorate status. We are seeking diplomatic relations between equals." The pause that followed was long enough that Greg wondered if the transmission had been interrupted. When Vexthor finally spoke again, his confusion was obvious. "Equals? President Martinez? I mean no disrespect, but Earth has not achieved faster-than-light travel. You are confined to your star system. What measure do you claim equality with civilizations that have explored the galaxy for thousands of years?" Amy Collins leaned forward, taking over the conversation as planned. "By the measure that this is our solar system, Captain, our planet, our species. We don't need your permission to exist. We're not asking to be rescued or saved. We're offering cooperation between independent civilizations. But the laws, Vexlor started. Your laws, Amy interrupted gently but firmly. Laws created by species that were contacted on your terms at times of your choosing. We're not saying those laws are wrong. We're saying they don't apply to us because we found you before you found us. Across the galaxy, in the council chambers, Chancellor Thrain watched the exchange with fascination. The human was right. The laws didn't technically apply. No one had ever written rules for what to do when a pre-contact species discovered the galaxy on their own. This is a legal nightmare, Ambassador Torvin muttered. This is an opportunity, Thrain corrected him. These humans are showing us something we've forgotten. They're showing us that strength and independence are not threats. They're showing us what it means to refuse to be defined by others. Back on Earth, Vexthor was trying to regain control of the conversation. Even if we accept your argument, you must understand that the Galactic Council requires certain demonstrations before granting full membership. There are standards, protocols. We understand, Greg said, and we're willing to meet reasonable standards, but we won't accept being treated as children who need guidance. We're adults, Captain. Young adults, perhaps, but adults nonetheless. Jake Morrison had been watching the alien ship's position during the entire conversation. Now he made a decision. Mr. President, I recommend we proceed with the demonstration. Greg nodded. Captain Vexthor, we'd like to show you something. Please observe the asteroid designated 2024 KF7, located approximately 300,000 kilometers from your current position. Vexthor's science officer quickly located the asteroid. It was small, roughly 50 meters across, composed of iron and nickel. We have it on our sensors, President Martinez. What about it? Watch carefully, Greg said. On the dark side of Earth's moon, the weapon called Prometheus powered up. It had been built in secret over the last 6 months, based on theoretical designs that human scientists had developed years ago, but never had reason to build. Until now. The particle beam lanced out across space, invisible to the naked eye, but blazing bright on every sensor the aliens had. It struck the asteroid exactly where human calculations said it would, and the rock simply ceased to exist. The energy from the beam converted it to plasma in an instant. On the bridge of the constellation of peace, alarm sirens started wailing. Krell was shouting in shock. Vexthor himself felt his blood run cold. That weapon, Vexthor said slowly, should not exist. The energy requirements alone require technology you should not have. Fusion power, Greg said calmly. We've had it for several years now. We've just been very quiet about it. Then, across Earth's orbital space, something even more shocking happened. Hundreds of satellites suddenly appeared on the alien sensors. They had been there all along, hidden behind stealth technology, but now they revealed themselves. Each one carried weapons, kinetic projectiles, lasers, missiles. Some carried technology that Vexthor's sensors couldn't even identify. We've been watching you for 6 months, Jake Morrison said, his voice hard. We know about the Galactic Council. We know about your trade networks. We know about your laws. We chose not to reveal ourselves until we were ready. The question isn't whether we're your equals, Captain. The question is whether you're prepared to treat us as such. Earth had made its position clear. In the council chambers, pandemonium erupted. A pre-contact species with military capability? Impossible. Terrifying. Completely unprecedented. We must respond with force, Ambassador Krellix demanded. They have violated every protocol. They pose a threat to galactic security. A threat? Thrain's voice cut through the noise like a blade. Or a challenge to our assumptions? Tell me, Ambassador, what exactly have the humans done wrong? They defended themselves. They prepared for contact. They refused to be subjugated. Are these crimes? They have weapons, Krelix shouted. So do we, Thrain replied. So does every member of this council. Are we criminals as well? Ambassador Torvin stood up slowly. When he spoke, the chamber quieted to hear him. I have studied the data on Earth. I have reviewed their history. Do you know what I found? I found a species that has survived things that would have destroyed most of us. Ice ages, volcanic winters, asteroid impacts, diseases that killed millions, wars that devastated their world. And every time, they survived. Every time, they adapted. Every time, they came back stronger. He paused, looking around the chamber. We are afraid of them. Let us be honest about that. We are afraid because they remind us of something we have forgotten. They remind us what it means to struggle, to fight, to refuse to give up. We have been comfortable for so long that we've forgotten what made our own ancestors strong. What are you suggesting? Thrain asked. I'm suggesting that maybe we should learn from them instead of trying to control them, Torvin said. I'm suggesting that maybe Earth's defiance is exactly what the galaxy needs. On Earth, in the Moonbase Command Center, Lisa Hayes monitored the alien ships carefully. They hadn't powered weapons. They were just sitting there, presumably waiting for orders. What do you think they'll do? Lieutenant Ben Crawford asked. I think they'll talk, Lisa said, because the alternative is war, and they're not ready for that. They don't know if they can win. Can they? Ben asked quietly. Lisa looked at the young officer. I don't know. We have surprise, and we have determination, but they have numbers and experience. If it comes to war, it will be ugly. Then let's hope it doesn't come to that. An hour later, another transmission came from Captain Vexthor. This time, his tone was different. Less formal. More genuine. President Martinez, I have been authorized by the Galactic Council to make a new proposal. The Council recognizes that Earth's situation is unique. We propose a compromise. Earth would not be granted protectorate status. Instead, you would be invited to participate in what we call the Trials of Ascension. Greg exchanged glances with his advisors. This was new. What are these trials, Captain? They are a series of challenges designed to evaluate whether a species possesses the wisdom, capability, and character to join the galactic community as full members. In 10,000 years, only 47 species have been invited to attempt them. 32 failed. 15 passed. And if we pass? Amy asked. Then Earth would be granted full membership in the Galactic Council, with all the rights and responsibilities that entails. No protectorate period, no oversight. You would be equals. And if we fail? Greg asked. Vexthor hesitated. Then the Council would require you to accept guidance until you are ready to try again. But President Martinez, I must be honest with you. No Deathworld species has ever attempted the trials. The Council members are divided on whether you should even be allowed to try. Many believe you will fail. Many believe you are too aggressive, too violent, too dangerous. Greg smiled grimly. Captain, humans have been told we would fail our entire history. We've been told we're too weak, too small, too late. And every time we've proven those predictions wrong. He stood up, straightening his jacket. Tell the Galactic Council that Earth accepts their challenge. We'll take their trials, and we'll pass them. I will convey your response, Vexthor said. He paused, then added something that wasn't in his official instructions. President Martinez, I hope you succeed. I truly do. The transmission ended. Earth had committed itself to a path that would change everything. Colonel Rachel Parker had been a soldier for 15 years before the day she was chosen to represent humanity in the Trials of Ascension. She had served in 3 wars, earned 2 doctorate degrees, and trained in 7 different martial arts. None of that prepared her for the moment she stepped onto the neutral space station where the trials would take place. The station orbited a dead star at the edge of Council space. It was ancient, built thousands of years ago by a species that no longer existed. The halls were wide enough for beings 3 times human size, and the ceiling soared high overhead. Rachel felt small walking through them, but she kept her back straight and her head high. "This place is incredible," said Dr. Katie Sullivan, walking beside her. Katie was the science expert on the team, chosen for her quick mind and her ability to solve problems from unexpected angles. "It's meant to intimidate us," said Commander Danny Webb, the tactical specialist. He was scanning everything with eyes trained to spot threats. "Look at the architecture. Look at the symbols. Everything here is designed to make visitors feel like they don't belong." "Then we'll have to prove we do belong," said Lieutenant Ben Crawford, the team's technical expert. He carried a datapad filled with human technology, ready to demonstrate Earth's capabilities. They entered the grand hall where the trials would take place. Thousands of aliens filled the observation galleries, representatives from hundreds of species who had come to watch Earth either succeed or fail. Most of them expected failure. The betting pools running through the galactic networks had humanity's chances at less than 5%. Chancellor Thrain stood at the center of the hall, flanked by the other senior council members. When she saw the human team, she nodded with respect. "Welcome, representatives of Earth. I am Chancellor Thrain. These are the trials of ascension. You will face 4 challenges. Each one tests a different quality we believe necessary for species joining our galactic community. Do you understand and accept these terms?" Rachel stepped forward. "We understand and accept." "Then let the first trial begin." The room shifted. Holographic displays appeared, showing a complex diplomatic scenario. 3 alien factions were locked in a bitter dispute over territory, resources, and ancient grievances. The conflict had been going on for 200 years. Hundreds of mediators had tried and failed to resolve it. "Your task is simple," Thrain explained. "End this conflict. You have 24 hours. The human team gathered in their assigned chamber, studying the data. The conflict was a mess of competing claims, cultural misunderstandings, and hurt pride. Most species who attempted this trial spent days trying to understand all the details before proposing solutions. "This is impossible," Ben said, scrolling through page after page of historical grievances. "There's too much history here, too much anger." "No," Katie said suddenly. She was staring at something on her screen. "No, it's not impossible. It's actually very simple." The others looked at her. "What do you mean?" Danny asked. "Look at the translation logs." Katie pulled up the data. "The conflict started because of a mistranslation. 200 years ago, one faction made what they thought was a peace offering, but their phrase for shared prosperity was translated by the other faction's language as enforced submission. Everything that came after was based on that one mistake." Rachel leaned forward, her eyes widening. "So they've been fighting for 2 centuries over a misunderstanding?" "Not just fighting," Katie said. "Building cultures around it, teaching their children that the other side insulted them. Creating identities based on being victims or victors. The original mistake got buried under generations of real conflict." "Can we prove it?" Rachel asked. Katie's fingers flew across her datapad. "Give me 2 hours." It took her 3. But when she presented her findings to the trial judges, she had documented evidence from the original diplomatic archives. She showed the exact moment of the mistranslation. She showed how both sides had been operating under false assumptions for 2 centuries. Many were skeptical. Some were angry. But the evidence was undeniable. Rachel stood before the 3 faction representatives in the simulation. "You've been fighting a ghost," she told them. "Fighting a war that should never have started. We can't give you back the 200 years you lost. But we can give you the truth, and the choice of what to do with it." The trial judges deliberated for only 30 minutes before declaring the challenge passed. The human team had solved in 4 hours what had stumped galactic diplomats for decades. Impressive, Ambassador Torvin said quietly. They approached it like scientists, not politicians. They looked for the root cause instead of trying to manage symptoms. The second trial began the next day. This one was purely scientific, a physics problem that had puzzled galactic researchers for over 1,000 years. The question involved the interaction between dark matter and conventional energy fields during faster-than-light travel. Solving it would revolutionize space travel. Katie looked at the problem and smiled. This was her world. While other teams had tried to solve it using established galactic mathematics, Katie approached it from a completely different direction. She used concepts from human physics that didn't exist in galactic science. Ideas about quantum mechanics, relativistic effects, and mathematical frameworks that Earth had developed independently. She worked for 18 hours straight, barely stopping to eat or sleep. Ben helped her run simulations. Danny brought her coffee and made sure she took breaks. Rachel stood guard, keeping anyone from interrupting. When Katie finally presented her solution, the council's top scientists spent 2 days verifying it. Then they spent another day verifying it again because they couldn't believe it worked. "This is revolutionary," one of the alien scientists said, his voice shaking. "This will change everything we know about faster-than-light travel. How did you see this?" Katie shrugged, exhausted but satisfied. "We came at it from a different angle. Sometimes being outside the system lets you see things those inside can't." The third trial was survival. Each team was placed in a hostile environment, designed to challenge species from any world. Extreme temperatures, toxic atmosphere, dangerous predators, limited resources. Most teams took 3 to 4 days to complete the course. The human team finished in 6 hours. For beings evolved on Earth, the trial environment was almost comfortable. The temperature swings that were supposed to be lethal were similar to a desert climate. The toxic atmosphere was less dangerous than some of Earth's industrial cities. The predators were slower and less aggressive than animals humans had hunted to near extinction. "This is actually kind of nice," Ben commented, as they walked through what was supposed to be a killing field. "Reminds me of camping in Nevada." Danny laughed. "I was thinking more like a jungle exercise in Brazil. Either way, this is easy." They weren't being arrogant. They were being honest. Earth had prepared them for worse than anything the trials could throw at them. The watching aliens were horrified and fascinated in equal measure. The humans moved through deadly environments like they were taking a casual stroll. They solved problems with tools made from local materials. They worked together with an efficiency that spoke of long practice in dangerous situations. "They're Deathworlders," Ambassador Krellick said, his voice quiet with fear. "We keep forgetting what that means. That environment would kill most of us in minutes. For them, it's a pleasant afternoon." But it was the fourth trial that would define everything. The test of character. The scenario was brutal in its simplicity. The human team was in a building that was about to collapse. They could save themselves easily. Or they could attempt to save a group of alien civilians trapped on another floor. But the building's structure meant they couldn't do both. Save themselves and live, or try to save the aliens and probably die. Most species chose to save themselves. It was logical, rational, and according to galactic ethics, the correct choice. Your first duty was to your own survival. Rachel looked at her team. "We're not leaving those people. The building's going to collapse in 90 seconds, Danny said, checking his readings. "If we go for them, we probably won't make it out." "Probably isn't definitely," Rachel replied. "We're human. We don't accept those odds." "Ben, can you shore up the support beam on level 3? "For about 45 seconds, yeah." "Katie, can you cut through the debris blocking the civilians? If I have 30 seconds. Danny, calculate the fastest route that hits both locations and gets us all to the exit. Danny's fingers flew across his datapad. It's tight, really tight. If anything goes wrong, then we improvise. Rachel cut him off. That's what we do. Move. They split up. Ben ran to the support beam and used a cutting torch to create a temporary brace. It wouldn't hold long, but it would hold long enough. Katie reached the trapped civilians and started cutting through the debris with a plasma cutter. Danny guided them through the collapsing building with split-second timing. The support beam started to fail. Ben abandoned his post and ran. Katie got the last civilian free with 3 seconds to spare. They all sprinted for the exit as the building came down around them. They made it out with 2 seconds left. The watching audience sat in stunned silence. Then, slowly, they began to make sounds of approval. Different species had different ways of showing respect, but the message was universal. The trial judges convened immediately. This had never happened before. Every other species had chosen survival. It was logical. It was expected. But the humans had refused to accept the parameters of the test. They had rejected the idea that someone had to die. They changed the game, Thrain said softly. They saw a test designed to force a choice, and they refused to play by the rules. Is that not cheating? Krellix demanded. Is it? Thrain turned to face him. They saved everyone. They found a way to do the impossible. Is that not exactly the kind of thinking we need in the galaxy? The refusal to accept that some problems have no good solutions? The vote on whether to pass the humans was surprisingly close. Many council members argued that humans had violated the spirit of the challenge. But in the end, the majority ruled that the humans had demonstrated something more important than following rules. They had demonstrated innovation, courage, and an absolute refusal to give up on anyone. All 4 trials passed. Earth had done what no Deathworld species had ever done. They had earned their place in the galaxy. The council chambers had never been so crowded. Every ambassador, every representative, every observer who could claim any right to be present had come to witness the historic vote. The question before them was simple but profound. Would humanity be granted full membership in the Galactic Council? Chancellor Thrain stood at the center of the ancient chamber, feeling the weight of history pressing down on her shoulders. In her 3 decades leading the Council, she had overseen the integration of 4 new species. But none of those decisions had felt like this. None of them had the power to reshape galactic civilization itself. We have reviewed the performance of Earth's representatives in the Trials of Ascension, Thrain announced. We have debated their methods, their choices, and their character. Now we must vote. On Earth, billions of humans watched the proceedings through live feeds transmitted across space. In homes, in public squares, in military bases and government buildings, people held their breath and waited. President Greg Martinez sat in the White House Situation Room, surrounded by the same advisors who had been with him from the beginning. Amy Collins gripped the edge of the table. Jake Morrison stood with his arms crossed, his face unreadable. Katie Sullivan, freshly returned from the trials, watched the screen with exhausted hope. Whatever happens, Greg said quietly, we proved something important. We proved that Earth won't be pushed around. We proved more than that, Katie replied. We proved we belong out there. The vote began. Each council member cast their decision, and the tally appeared on screens across the galaxy. The numbers climbed slowly, hanging in perfect balance. For every vote in favor of Earth, another vote came against them. The council was divided right down the middle. Ambassador Krellix voted against, as expected. He had made his position clear from the beginning. Humans were too dangerous, too unpredictable, too different. But Ambassador Torvin voted in favor, his ancient voice carrying weight that swayed others. I have lived for 300 years, he said when casting his vote. I have seen civilizations rise and fall. I have watched as the galaxy grew comfortable, safe, and perhaps too content. Earth reminds us of something vital. They remind us that progress requires struggle, that innovation requires challenge, that sometimes the most important thing is not following the rules, but knowing when to break them for the right reasons. The vote remained tied with only 3 members left to cast their decision. The tension was unbearable. The first voted against, the second voted in favor. Everything came down to the final member, a representative from a species called the Velkari. They were known for being cautious, traditional, and deeply respectful of established protocols. The Velkari ambassador rose slowly. "I have studied Earth's history," she said. "I have read about their wars, their violence, their capacity for destruction. And I have also read about their art, their music, their literature, their endless capacity for hope. They are contradictions, they are chaos. But perhaps that is exactly what the galaxy needs right now." She cast her vote in favor of Earth. The chamber erupted, half in celebration, half in protest. But the decision was made. Earth had won membership by the smallest possible margin. In the White House, people were hugging, cheering, some crying with relief. But Greg Martinez felt something different. Not just relief, but responsibility. Earth had been given a chance. Now they had to prove they deserved it. "Get me a line to Chancellor Thrain," he ordered. 3 days later, the formal ceremony took place. Rachel Parker, as the leader of Earth's trial team, was given the honor of accepting humanity's membership on behalf of the planet. She stood before the assembled council, wearing her military uniform, looking small among the massive alien beings, but standing tall nonetheless. "On behalf of Earth and all of humanity, I accept this membership with gratitude and determination," Rachel said. "We know we have much to learn. We know we will make mistakes. But we promise to bring everything we are to this galactic community. Our strength, our creativity, our stubbornness, and yes, our hope." She paused, looking around at the assembled aliens. "We come from a death world. We evolved in conditions that would kill most of you. We survived things that should have destroyed us. And because of that, we learned something important. We learned that the greatest challenges often create the greatest strengths. We learned that there is always another way if you're willing to look for it. We learned that giving up is never the answer. Those lessons shaped us. They made us who we are. And we bring them to you now, not as weapons, but as gifts. Because we believe the galaxy can benefit from a little bit of that death world stubbornness." The applause that followed was genuine and widespread. Even some of those who had voted against Earth's membership found themselves moved by Rachel's words. But the real work was just beginning. The first joint human-alien research station was established in orbit around Earth 3 months later. It was a massive structure, combining technology from a dozen different species with human engineering. Scientists from across the galaxy came to work alongside human researchers, and the exchange of knowledge began. Katie Sullivan led the human science team. On her first day, she met with Dr. Zenthar, a physicist from a species that had been studying the universe for 5,000 years. "I am curious," Zenthar said in perfectly translated English. "What do you hope to contribute? We have been doing this research for longer than your species has existed." Katie smiled. "You've been doing it your way for 5,000 years. We're going to show you our way. And together maybe we'll discover things neither of us could have found alone." Within 6 months, the joint research teams had made 3 major breakthroughs. Not because human science was better, but because it was different. Earth scientists asked questions that had never occurred to aliens. They approached problems from angles that galactic researchers had never considered. They brought fresh perspectives to ancient questions. On Earth, the changes were just as dramatic. Alien technology began arriving, carefully controlled and monitored, but arriving nonetheless. Medical advances that could cure diseases humanity had fought for centuries. Energy systems that were cleaner and more efficient than anything Earth had developed. Agricultural techniques that could feed billions. But the most important changes were not technological. They were cultural. Lieutenant Ben Crawford had been assigned to the Cultural Exchange Program, working with young aliens who wanted to learn about Earth. He found himself teaching a class of 30 different species about human history, art, and philosophy. "Why do you have so many different languages?" asked one student, a being that looked like a floating jellyfish. "Because we developed in isolation," Ben explained. "Different groups of humans evolved different ways of communicating. We see it as a strength now. Each language captures ideas in unique ways." "And your music?" another student asked. "Why is it so emotional?" Ben thought about that. Because we needed it to be. Life on Earth was hard. Still is hard sometimes. Music helped us express what we felt, helped us connect with each other, helped us remember we weren't alone. The alien students listened with fascination. They came from worlds where life was easier, where evolution had been gentler. But they recognized something valuable in humanity's struggle. They recognized that hardship had forged something unique and precious. Back in the Galactic Council chambers, the debates about Earth continued, but they had changed in character. Now, instead of arguing whether humans should be included, they were arguing about how to learn from them. "Their approach to problem-solving is revolutionary," one ambassador argued. "We should incorporate their methods into our educational systems." "But their competitiveness concerns me," another countered. "They push so hard, demand so much of themselves and others." "Perhaps we could use a little of that push," Chancellor Thorane said quietly. "When was the last time any of our civilizations achieved a major breakthrough? We have been coasting on our ancestors' achievements for centuries. Earth shows us what ambition looks like." A year after joining the Council, President Greg Martinez addressed the galactic community directly. His speech was broadcast to every inhabited world in Council space. "1 year ago, Earth stood alone," Greg said. "We were isolated, unknown, and uncertain of our place in the universe. Today we stand as members of the greatest civilization the galaxy has ever known. But we did not change who we are to earn that place. We showed you who we are, honestly and completely, and you accepted us. Now we want to give back. We want to share not just our technology or our science, but our spirit. The spirit that says no challenge is too great. The spirit that says there is always hope. The spirit that says we are stronger together than we could ever be alone. Earth is still a death world. We are still shaped by struggle. But we have learned to transform that struggle into strength. And we offer that strength to the galaxy, freely and gladly." The response was overwhelming. Messages poured in from thousands of worlds. Some were grateful, some were skeptical, but all of them acknowledged that something had changed in the galaxy. Humanity had not just joined the Council. They had reminded everyone else what it meant to truly live, to truly strive, to truly hope. On the moon base where it all began, Commander Lisa Hayes watched the stars through the observation window. Beside her stood Danny Webb, now promoted to commander himself. "Did you ever imagine it would turn out like this?" Danny asked. Lisa shook her head. "When we first detected those alien ships, I thought we were going to war. I never imagined we would become partners." "Do you think it will last? The partnership, I mean?" Lisa was quiet for a long moment. "I think it has to. Because we need them. And whether they know it yet or not, they need us. They need what we bring to the galaxy. Not weapons or technology, but perspective. The perspective of a species that knows what it means to fight for survival." "And what do we need from them?" Danny asked. "Knowledge, wisdom, and maybe a little of their peace. They can teach us how to be calm, and we can teach them how to be fierce. Together, maybe we can be balanced." 10 years after first contact, the joint human-alien colony was established on a new world. It was chosen specifically because it was a death world, similar to Earth in its challenges. Most species would never have attempted to settle such a hostile place. But with human guidance, they learned to adapt, to overcome, to thrive. The colony became a symbol of what the galaxy could achieve when it embraced challenge instead of avoiding it. Children grew up there, human and alien side by side, learning from each other's strengths and supporting each other's weaknesses. Katie Sullivan, now heading the Galactic Science Council, stood on that colony world and looked up at the sky. 2 suns burned overhead, fierce and bright. The gravity was high. The atmosphere was reactive. Dangerous creatures roamed the wilderness beyond the settlement walls. It reminded her of home. "This is what we do best," she said to the alien scientists working beside her. "We take the impossible and make it possible. We take the hostile and make it home. And now, we're teaching you how to do the same." The alien scientists nodded in understanding. They had learned from humanity not to fear challenge, but to embrace it. Not to avoid difficulty, but to grow from it. Earth had been found by aliens for the first time. The galaxy had stared in shock at what they discovered. But what happened next was even more remarkable. The galaxy learned. The galaxy changed. The galaxy grew. All because a species from a death world refused to accept limitations, refused to bow to authority they hadn't earned, and refused to believe that the way things had always been done was the only way forward. Humanity had joined the stars, and the stars would never be the same. The deep space sensors picked up the signal at 600 hours on a Tuesday morning. Commander Lisa Hayes had been drinking her 3rd cup of coffee when the alert flashed across her screen. She set the cup down slowly and leaned forward, her eyes narrowing as she studied the data. 3 ships, massive ones. They had just dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system, near the orbit of Neptune. Lisa reached for the secure communication line. Her hand was steady, but her heart was racing. This was the moment they had been preparing for during the last 6 months. The moment when Earth's secret would either save them or doom them. "General Morrison, this is Moonbase Alpha. We have contact. 3 vessels, unknown configuration, holding position at 9 astronomical units from Earth." On the other end of the line, General Jake Morrison was already moving. He had been waiting for this call since the day Earth's deep space telescopes first intercepted alien communications. That discovery had changed everything. In one instant, humanity learned they were not alone in the universe. In the next instant, they learned that the galaxy had rules, and Earth was breaking them simply by existing. "Keep all weapon systems on standby," Jake ordered. "I want every satellite tracking those ships, and Lisa, make sure our stealth systems are holding." "Yes, sir. They don't know we're here yet." But that would change soon. Lisa knew it. Jake knew it. Everyone who had been read into the program knew it. The aliens were here to study Earth, to catalog another primitive world that didn't know it was being watched. Except Earth did know, and Earth had been getting ready. Captain Vexthor stood on the bridge of his survey ship, the Constellation of Peace. He was a tall being, with blue-gray skin and 4 arms that he used to manipulate multiple control interfaces at once. His species, the Gentari, had been exploring the galaxy for over 3,000 years. First contact with primitive worlds was routine for him. He had done it 17 times before. This would be his 18th. And according to the initial surveys, it would be a simple one. Earth was listed as a Class 7 developing world. Basic space capability, chemical rockets, primitive satellites. The inhabitants had not yet discovered faster-than-light travel, which meant they were at least 200 years away from being ready for galactic contact. "Begin the full system scan," Vexthor ordered his science officer. "I want complete data on their technological level, population centers, and resource distribution. Standard protocol." The science officer, a young Gentari named Krell, began the scanning sequence. But within minutes, his confidence began to fade. The readings coming back from the third planet were unusual. "Captain," Krell said slowly, "the satellite count is much higher than expected." Vexthor looked at the data. "How much higher?" "Initial estimate was 50 to 100 primitive satellites. Current count is over 8,000. The bridge went quiet. Vexthor felt the first stirring of unease in his chest. 8,000 satellites? For a Class 7 world? That was impossible. "There must be an error in the sensors," Vexthor said. "Recalibrate and scan again." Krell did as ordered. The results came back the same, then worse. The detailed scans revealed not just satellites, but space stations, debris fields that indicated regular launches, and heavy orbital traffic. The electromagnetic spectrum was flooded with signals, radio waves, and data transmissions, at a level that suggested a highly active technological civilization. "Captain, I think we need to revise our classification of this world," Krell said quietly. On Earth, in a bunker deep beneath the Colorado mountains, Jake Morrison watched the alien ship's scanning pattern with cold calculation. The aliens were being thorough, but they were also being predictable. Their scanning frequencies matched the ones Earth scientists had analyzed from intercepted galactic communications. That meant Earth's stealth satellites, designed specifically to hide from those frequencies, were working perfectly. The aliens could see Earth's regular satellites, the ones that had been there for decades, but they couldn't see the 300 military platforms that had been launched in secret over the last 6 months. They couldn't see the weapon systems, the defense grids, or the hidden bases on the Moon and Mars. "They're confused," said Dr. Katie Sullivan, standing beside Jake. She was Earth's leading expert on the alien languages they had been studying. "Their communication chatter shows surprise at our orbital infrastructure." "Good," Jake said. "Let them be surprised. We need every advantage we can get." Katie looked at the general with concern. She was a scientist, not a soldier. The idea of starting humanity's first contact with deception troubled her. "Are you sure this is the right approach? Maybe we should just talk to them." "And say what?" Jake turned to face her. "Hello, we've been spying on your galactic internet for 6 months. We know you have laws about contacting primitive species, and we know those laws don't give us any rights. We know that you decide when we're ready to join your club, and we get no say in it." Katie didn't have an answer for that, because he was right. The Galactic Council's laws were clear. Pre-contact civilizations were to be observed from a distance, until they developed faster-than-light travel on their own. Only then would they be approached and offered a place in galactic society. Until that moment, they had no rights, no voice, and no choice. But humanity had learned about the galaxy before the galaxy was ready to tell them, and that changed everything. Aboard the Constellation of Peace, Vexthor was beginning to realize that something was very wrong. His science team had been analyzing Earth's energy consumption, and the numbers didn't make sense. The planet was using power at levels that should not be possible for their technological classification. "How many nuclear reactors do they have?" Vexthor asked. "Over 400, Krell replied. "But that's not the strangest part. Captain, they have fusion reactors, at least 12 that we can detect." Vexthor felt his confidence crumbling. Fusion power was advanced technology. It usually took species 500 to 600 years after achieving spaceflight to develop practical fusion. Earth had been in space for less than 70 years, according to their records. "Show me their space stations," Vexthor ordered. The images appeared on the screen. There were multiple stations in orbit around Earth, but one of them, the largest one, was clearly more advanced than the others. Its design was too clean, too efficient, and the power readings coming from it suggested systems that should not exist yet. "Krell, what is that station's power source?" The science officer ran the analysis 3 times before answering. "Fusion, Captain. A stable fusion reactor providing power to what appears to be a military installation." He opened a communication channel to the Galactic Council headquarters. 20,000 light-years away. The message would take time to arrive, even through the quantum relay network. But he needed guidance. "This is Captain Vexthor of the Constellation of Peace. I am requesting immediate Council review of Earth classification. Initial survey shows technological advancement far beyond projected levels. Recommend caution before proceeding with standard contact protocols." As the message shot across the galaxy, Vexthor stared at the blue and green planet on his screen. Somewhere down there, beings called humans were going about their lives, unaware that their entire future hung in the balance. Or perhaps they were aware. Perhaps they knew exactly what was happening. That thought disturbed Vexthor more than anything else he had discovered today. On the moon, Lisa Hayes continued to monitor the alien ships. They had stopped their active scanning and seemed to be waiting for something. Instructions, probably. Permission to proceed. Or maybe permission to leave. "What do you think they're doing?" asked Lieutenant Ben Crawford, one of her officers. Lisa smiled grimly. "They're realizing we're not what they expected, and now they're scared. Should we be ready for them to attack?" "No," Lisa said. "They won't attack. Not yet. They're scientists and explorers, not warriors. They're going to call home and ask for help. And when that help arrives..." Lisa looked at the young officer. He was barely 25, fresh out of the academy, and facing the most important moment in human history. "Then we show them that Earth doesn't need their permission to be free."